she's completely flipped, but she's definitely
once it affects
softened.
you, and so to make sure that people don't have to face it and have that traumatic realignment, that you can maybe educate them ahead of time and get them to kind of see what mass migration can do. See how societies can be destroyed with mass migration as used as a weapon. But like, to get people to realize it without really experiencing it, I don't know how. I played a lot of Crusader Kings, and I would watch countries get flipped with cultural, the culture just takes it, and then people vote for their own demise. I'm like, that's how I learned. But sorry, where is it?
You'd have to establish cultural traditions to, because this is something a lot of tribal societies do, where they have rites of passage that force people to grow up through these various rituals that make them comprehend the horror of the world, because industrial civilization has protected us from the brutality of the human condition, and so people are just not aware of how bad things can get, and that's why we're having Mouse Utopia.
And so, like, horror movies and stuff, is that part of why people like them, is because it helps them see into what it could be?
Yeah, people like horror movies as like a reset button, it's because people physiologically process reality, and so if someone physiologically does not understand something, they're going to have trouble understanding it in abstract intellectually.
And so,
but like, we don't this is, so I think you guys are like true about something, right? Which is that, like, by and large, people are a culmination of their experiences, and that's about it, right? What you're talking about, like Anna Kasparian, right? What you're talking about, like, the morally lucky individual who just happens to grow up with the whatever morals you prefer and loves them because they grew up with them, right? But I also think that we can experience and observe things and think of things and develop a sense of self outside of these experiences. It just takes significant work, right? In the case of learning math, it's really hard to experience high levels of math, Euclidean geometry. However, if you engage in it at high levels over and over as like a rigorous mental practice in the way that you could do with philosophy, right? You can actually come to observe and understand these things and have it kind of phenomenologically affect how you engage with the world or think.
Well, let's go back to the original question, which is, there's an island where Chinese people are flying, giving birth, and then leaving, so that those babies will have standing to be president and be American citizens. Should we put a stop to that?
Yeah, probably.
Should we end birthright citizenship?
I think it's complicated because it's a very American tradition, right? There's a really good debate between two of my friends. I don't know if I can shout out other creators. I think you've had both of them on now. Pisco and Ryan Mullally, when they were at Word War Debate, talked about this, and I think both of them had really good arguments. Ryan saying birthright means an implied patriotism because obviously the founding fathers didn't know about like planes, right? So if you were born here, you're probably invested because you're not going to leave very easily, right? And Pisco kind of addressed that, well, birthright citizenship is about the individual. It's not about their parents, and that matters. So I think there's really good arguments on either side.
No. It's silly that someone from China can fly here specifically to give birth and then like fly here a week before birth, give birth, and then fly back a week later.
I agree, but there might be a way to like policy carve out in such a way that people can't abuse it like that but we still protect the birthright citizenship.
Babies?
Yes, some way to do that work, because I think the Pisco points out really aptly, I forget which amendment it is, and I'm going to butcher his arguments. 14th? I'm very sorry, Pisco, I think the 14th, yeah. But the jurisdiction of the state it's talking about is the child.